Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I trust you've all got a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever you fancy, and we can get on with the rest of the day. All the business stuff is done, so we can get on with the rest of the day and enjoy the sessions that we've got lined up for you. The first one that we're going to do is our print portfolio. The idea behind this was, as I said to you earlier, that the exhibition became pretty difficult to control and to organise, as well as being very, very expensive. We just didn't have the resource to keep that up. But I didn't want us to lose printing, because I personally believe printing is really fundamental to producing good quality work and sharing it with other people. So our exhibition has been, our exhibition has been put to one side, but you've still submitted prints and they have been selected as prints. And we took into consideration the fact that, as an exhibition would be, we wanted to see a selection of members' works get chosen, and the quality of the printing and the paper that you'd used was still important. So we really wanted to judge it as a printed competition. So yes, we did ask you for digital files as well, but that's only so that we can go on and produce the portfolio ultimately. So here we are. First of all, you were all supposed to enter reprints. The vast majority of you did, but some people didn't actually give us 3 prints. So I would say next year, if we rerun this, we really do have to ask you for 3 prints, because the concept is that exactly the same as we used to select our exhibition, everybody goes through the first round. So we look at the 3 prints and we actually then choose the one that's going to go forward into round 2. So here you'll see our 3 selectors for this year, and I'll introduce them a little later on in the program, in this session today. But you'll see them looking at your prints and choosing whichever one they agree to select together will go forward to the next round. At that point, we ask them to get down to 50 top images. So here they are, with them all spread around the table, lots of discussion and lots of debate about everything, looking for those top 50. So what I'm going to do now in this session is I'm going to show you that top 50, then introduce you to our selectors, and we will then show you the top 30 that will go on to go into the portfolio. And each of the selectors will have the opportunity at that stage to come in and speak about 1 or 2 of the images. We're not talking about all of them, but we will pick out 1 or 2 and talk about those. And they will also say a few words about the whole process of selecting your images. So let's have a look, please, at the top 50, and we'll do that with a little bit of music in the background and just go through them fairly quickly. So thank you very much for that. So that's our top 50. And no doubt many of you are now are going, oh, mine's in there. Oh, yee. I wonder if I'm in the top 30. So next I'd like to introduce, and I'd invite them to unmute and also turn on their videos, our selectors, who were Marilyn Taylor, Simon Street and Edgar Gibbs. So thank you, first of all, to all three of you for the day that we spent at RPS House selecting the images. And I did ask them to choose a nice broad variety of images to go forward into the print portfolio. So we're going to show those to you next. And as we go through, I'm going to invite one or two comments from our selectors, and then at the end, as I said previously, there'll be a chance for them to talk about the project overall. So here they are, selecting the images, and I've just introduced them to you as well. And then we move into the first image, Ashley by Durwood.
Simon here. So I'd like to comment on this one. This is a gorgeous mono, and it reminds me of one of those Vogue 1950s covers with Audrey Hepburn, and the face is so beautifully framed with those with the positioning of the fingers there, which just makes this an absolutely gorgeous item. This is a print competition, so while I really enjoyed the digital version here, we found the print version even darker and even moodier. So we enjoyed both, but for different reasons. So congratulations, Durwood.
And the next one is Balanced by Peter Hayett. Yeah, and you're going to comment again.
Yeah, so I'll comment on this. So balance indeed. So look at the diagonal composition of this one, and the eyes looking straight to camera, which makes this very, very powerful. And the black intensity against that very soft, gentle backdrop. So balanced it is. It's balanced tonally and balanced by posture. So again, congratulations, Peter. An excellent print.
Exhaust Pipes by David Ball. Good that he took it in the rain. And this one, Fallen Aviators by Hugh Roney, is Marilyn's going to comment on it.
This was, I wasn't quite sure what this photo was at first. It took quite a lot of looking. I've found that it's a monument in Umbria in Tuscany. But I've recently started taking photos with a long shutter, and I can appreciate the skill that went into taking this photo. It was one of the square images, which were a little small, but it was beautifully taken and processed, and on fine art paper, and I'd love to have that on my wall. Thank you.
No doubt you've all got your favourites. Freshly Plucked by Robin Claydon. Gas Giant by Roger Hinton. And Edgar.
Yes, this was a strong image in terms of wanting to have a giant car, which gave that sort of impression of coming over as a giant car with good contrast, nicely positioned against the very subtle background of American skyscrapers. They don't necessarily have to be real skyscrapers, but I thought the whole thing was really good. And I thought the use of high contrast at the beginning, the start of the image, and going to the sort of subtle use of low contrast at the end was excellent.
Thanks, Edgar. Oh, sneaked over one there. Very important one from one of our committee members I nearly missed. Hawthorn Berries by Melanie Chalk. Beautifully delicate. Oh, what's the matter with me? Hong Kong Sunset by Neil Milne. This one, I would just like to say, was printed on a metallic paper And it was fantastic because it really glistened when we were holding it in our hands. And it really makes a difference, the paper that you choose to present your work on. Hot Work by Steve Reynolds.
Yeah, so
And
I'll
Simon,
I'll comment on that. Thank you, Janet. So here's a great piece of documentary with a very subtle color palette, I thought. But and look how the eye goes into that molten iron there, and such a nice gentle job of vignetting around it. But you can still see particularly clearly when we looked at the print, actually, all the perspiration on the two gentlemen on the left there. So a great piece of documentary work, Steve. Thank you.
Hummingbird Moth by Christine Holt. Detail is amazing. And Isle of Harris Colours by Martin Tomes and Edgar.
I was taken by this. It was a misty image, which actually creates the essence of the location where it was taken, and it doesn't give detail, but it actually sends through and brings over the atmosphere. And I thought that was really good.
It was also printed on absolutely brilliant paper for that particular subject as well.
I would have commented on the paper, but I couldn't remember what sort of paper that was. I did like it at the time. But...
Yes, exactly. It made a difference. And Jess by Adrian Lines. Adrian has been quite successful in our competition over the years and always produces beautiful work. Lake Navisha Sunset by Ashok. And again, this we printed the images for the international members because obviously it's just too difficult for them to send the prints across to us. And this was printed on a normal paper, but it really looked beautiful on just the ordinary luster paper, this one. Leap by Barry Senior. Maybe taken on the Talk Walk Talk Coastal. Who knows? Light and Shade at the Mosque by Linda Morris. And again, Edgar, would you like to comment?
I thought that the piece and the contemplation that came through with this was really, really strong. I felt that the reflections in the shiny marble floor added especially to it, and the composition, the whole thing was really wrapped up into an image I really liked. And
another one for you to comment on, Edgar, Light Struggles Through by David Alderson.
I think this was printed on art paper, because I know when we were talking about it, I just was absolutely impressed by the actual quality of the print that came through. I particularly liked the fact it was in a portrait format as opposed to a landscape, the subtlety of the colours, and the use and the atmosphere that came through from that sort of heavy sky with that little bit of sun coming through. Again, really excellent composition.
Linda's Farm by Alan Collins. We see Linda's Farm quite frequently, but I thought this was a really rather nice rendition of it with the texture, etc., adding to the feeling and the colour palette of this one. London Skyline by Derek Knight. An interesting building, and the inclusion of the little plane really is great. Misty Morning in Venice by Eric Begbie. Again, beautifully printed.
Yes, I was going to say the quality of the printing on this was very good. I particularly like the fact that you've got the harder contrast at the front with the wet and the dark images, and then just letting it drift into the level of mistiness from the back, I thought was good. It created, again, in mono, a particularly good atmosphere of Venice.
Thank you. Red Arrows Break by Trevor Pogson. Real decisive moment he's caught there. Standing Alone by Kenneth Ness. Edgar.
Yes, the actual seeing of this image and thinking, I want to take this picture with something I felt I would love to have been there to have seen that and been there and experienced it. I thought the handling of the light on this particular one, the way it was printed as well, was good. And I just felt that I could literally open the gate, walk in and walk up to that tree. And excellent. I really did like that one.
Superbikes at Paddock Hill Bend by Roger Robinson. Great sports activity. Sweet Peas in a Bottle by Lorna Brown. Edgar.
I've always been a fan of sweet peas, and I think the flowers are delicate anyway, and the author has actually captured the delicacy, the composition, the softness and the subtlety, and I think there's possibly a hint of texture within that, made this particularly pleasing image because all the elements came together to represent sweet peas.
You can almost smell them, can't you?
I nearly said that actually.
Teetering by Martin Parrott. This looked dynamic in print, it really did. Looks good on screen too. The Blue Bottle by Robert Brasher. I just love the title on that particular one. Made me smile. It's not, if you read the comment and the title and you expect something else, and then you get literally the blue bottle. Beautifully presented and very, very well printed again. Thin Harvest by Andrew Carruthers. Edgar.
I mean, this was an amazing creation because I felt that the use of the mono in graduations set a beautiful background for this particular image. I loved the way that the corn and the other elements came up, and they almost, because of the darkness and the mono background, they almost looked gold. It was beautifully printed, beautifully executed, and I think the thought of having to create this image was really good.
Yep, I thoroughly enjoyed seeing that one printed because, as you say, it was printed on a beautiful art paper, and those golds, absolutely. I had to look to see whether he'd actually used gold metallic on it or not, because it was so brilliantly printed.
I could quite happily have had that on my wall.
Yeah, me too, Edgar. Today in Paris by Linda Golightly. Simon.
Yes, so Mancunians say that Lowry is dead, but I've got news for them, because I think Lowry is alive and well in Paris today. Just look at those thin stick people there. It's the kind of image that, again, I think you can put on the wall and look at for ages. And the choice of mono, I think, is excellent here, because this would be quite a busy scene, I would imagine, in colour. And somehow the choice of making this mono just allows us to focus less on the colour and more on the individuals. So a great Lowry-esque and very enjoyable as a print as well.
So much to see in that one, isn't there? So much to see.
Yeah.
Tulips by Sylvia Morehouse. Edgar.
Okay. I was quite struck by this one because it was what I would say was created using layers, and the layers together formed what in audiovisual terms we would have said was a third image. And the way that the different amounts of opacity we used to create what was a third image, really. And I thought that was well thought out, well presented and nicely printed.
Lovely, thank you. Unplugged by Athena Carey. And this one Marilyn's going to comment on.
Yeah, you had to look quite closely at this image for a little while before you could work out what was going on. I always like this kind of clever digital image, and it was beautifully photographed. I mean, the jacket, you could almost touch it and feel the textures, and beautifully processed. I'm not quite sure what was going on at the top, but I thought the title of Unplugged was brilliant.
Lovely, thank you. And the last one is Woodland Walk. And again, Marilyn, would you like to comment? Or by Gemma Burden, beg your pardon. Would you like to comment again?
Yes, this actually probably was my favourite photo of the day. If we selected it, that I might have given that a ribbon. Can't be sure about that right now, but looking at the detail in the throat and the fur of this beautiful dog, this was actually one of three that this Gemma put forward, 3 different dogs. But I thought that the positioning of the head of this dog, I'm not quite sure what breed it is, some kind of setter maybe, or a Springer. Anyway, it was beautiful, and it was 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you.
10 out of 10. Okay, so congratulations to all 30 photographers who will appear in the print portfolio. And what will happen next is we will contact you all and get from you a little bit of text, and then we will start putting the publication together. But first, I'd like to invite our selectors to just take a couple of minutes just to say how they each felt about the overall portfolio and the selection of it. Simon, to start with.
Thank you. Yeah, so a great privilege to sit for 4 or 5 hours looking at all these images, and we've seen here an absolutely tremendous variety, all the way from wildlife through to abstract, some amazing desktop work, through to some very abstract things. But one thing I think struck me, Janet, was just how different the look and feel between the print and the digital form was. Not better but worse, but different and enjoyable in a very different way, a different experience. And we've tried to bring out some of that, I think, in the highlights that we've had there. But many of them had took on a very different life to the actual original digital. So that was something I hadn't expected and really enjoyed. I think my final comment would be just how digital is now allowing the level of creativity to step up, and how often we said something like, how the hell did they do that? So, some tremendous achievements that left you wondering, just some amazing creative talent amongst the submissions we've seen. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you, Simon, for the time you spent with us. Marilyn?
A few of the people that entered this competition probably know me from doing the print exhibition for the few years in the past. I was actually quite nervous to be on the sharp end, as it were, of doing the selection. And when Jay asked me to if I would be on the selection panel, I said, but that means then I can't enter it. But it was a very interesting exercise. I appreciated the company, Edgar and Simon, looking at some of the images. The mix of images particularly was good. Lots of monochrome, a couple of landscapes, not so much action, but some nice portraits. I did notice that some of the square images were a little small. I know they were fitting into A4, but nonetheless, because we had the chance of picking them up and having a look at them, we were able to see the quality of the printing. Truly, I would have liked to have seen a lot of them bigger, just because then I could have seen them better. But it was an enjoyable day. Thank you. But I have to say thank you very much to Simon and Edgar, but also to you, Jay, for your organisation of the prints, the lists, and to Neil for doing his record keeping. It went so smoothly. I couldn't have done better myself, really.
That's a compliment. Okay, thanks for that, Marilyn. And Edgar?
Well, I'd like to say I was delighted to be asked to be on the selection panel, and I found it both interesting, informative, and enjoyable. It was interesting to see the wide range of entries, and it was informative for me to hear the other selectors' views and to see whether their thoughts matched the thoughts of mine or whether they were opposite to mine. The quality of the images was high, as was the variety, and I was particularly taken by the fact there was a variety of papers used, which actually added that little bit of extra to what was, in most cases, excellent images. The process of whittling down to the entries to the final 30 wasn't easy, and hard choices had to be made. But I think when we finished, we all felt pleased that we had a good end result, and I enjoyed working with the other panel members. And I would particularly like to say thank you for Janet, because the excellent preparation made the whole process run smoothly and easily, and I felt quite at home in being there and spending a day with some beautiful prints.
Excellent. Thank you to all three of you and for the contribution of choosing our first portfolio. So, as I said before, everybody who is in the portfolio will get the complete book, and everybody who entered will get a catalogue, a magazine catalogue as well. So that will probably take us a good few weeks to pull together, because we've got to get ourselves in order now to get the text and to get the images that we need and to get that through the printers as well. So we'll keep you informed through DI Online of the progress of that. And obviously, because this particular event is being recorded, if you want to look at those images again, you've got the opportunity to re-watch the video to see those images perhaps in your own time. So thank you very much for that session, guys. And we now are supposed to move on to finishing this session. So your first booking, which was for members only, will now close, and we will restart again with Nicholas Vreeland, who will be our monk with a camera in his bag. And that starts at 12 o'clock. But you do need to remember to use your ticket for your second session, because then we are in an open session with other non-DI members as well. So thanks for now. Bye, everybody. See you in the next session.